What's up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 473 of the Smark Moments Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week, where we'll be breaking down some of the current events and the rumors and news and gossip and other things that have happened in the world of pro wrestling over the past few days that we feel like talking about. Am I talking really fast? It seems like I am. I don't know why that's happening. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango. Joining me, as always, is Robert DeFelice.
Tony, your words can't catch up with your thoughts. It's a wonderful thing. How are you doing, Tony? I feel pretty damn good. It is Christmas Eve, and
How many Eves do
we're
you go back if it's like December 18th or something and you're like, it's Christmas Eve.
I did that yesterday. I was like, oh, it's Christmas Eve. I was like, okay, couldn't have
Christmas
been
fortnight
much.
or something.
But yes, we're doing the hot tags a little early in the week.
We
We
are
got a
not
little Slammies action for you too.
not even early in the week, early in the day. It's currently
Hell yeah.
a little bit before 12:30. We never record that early unless we're doing like the end of the year awards, which that's kind of one of the reasons why we're moving things around a little bit. You know, it's Christmas, so well, it's Christmas on Friday, but Friday night is not the time for us to be dealing with that. Instead, if anything, what we'll do is we'll probably do some kind of a Wonder Woman podcast. And if you are interested in the Wonder Woman 1984 podcast that we eventually will potentially do, then check out that on fanboysanonymous.com. Go ahead and go over to that website. There you go, a little plug. Follow everything over there. But the game plan for this week is that we are doing the hot tags here. Obviously, this means that we're not going to have the full... Well, what are your thoughts on all the episodes of TV this week? Because the only things that have aired are Monday Night Raw and AEW Dark. NXT hasn't aired, Dynamite hasn't aired, NXT UK is tomorrow, so on and so forth. But we weren't probably going to have too much to talk about with that anyway. We will talk about, potentially, if you think that we should, I don't know, you think we should talk about the spoilers for SmackDown? Maybe at the end, give people like if you don't want to listen to the spoilers and
Yeah,
whatever.
I think if we give proper spoiler warning, then hey, screw
Yeah.
you. We give it to you.
So we'll maybe talk about that, but we're going to talk Slammies. We're going to talk a couple trademark things and a potential new show. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. And as always, I want to know what you have to say about all these topics. So drop a comment in whatever fashion you have. You know, send a tweet at SmarkOutMoment or at us. Rob is at Dude Felice. You should follow him over there. I'm at Tony Mango, and of course, I get the ones from Smark Moment and everything too. So, you know, if you tweet at a Mango Tray, it's not going into some call center somewhere or whatever. It's going to me. But the Twitter is one thing. There's the Facebook.com/SmarkOutMoment/FanboysAnonymous/Tony Mango/A Mango Tray. And there's the page on smarkoutmoment.com, but the best thing is the YouTube video itself. If you're listening to us on the platforms that aren't YouTube, like Amazon Music, whatever, there is no comment section, but YouTube there is. So while you're over on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the applause button, hit the join button, hit every button except for the dislike button. And if you want to join the membership side of things, that's the same thing as the Patreon. Patreon.com/smarkoutmoment is a way for you to help us grow, help keep me sane, because this year has been just terrible and everything that I have breaks down. I am waiting on a monitor to come to replace the monitor that I bought to replace the monitor that broke on Saturday. So, you know, maybe you want to chip in $1. If you think that we give you at least $1 worth of entertainment each month, then that can go a long way. But $10 and up gives you access to the Dark Casts. Those are Patreon exclusive episodes. There's the Pick Your Poison tier if you want us to do anything in particular that we are not necessarily doing, or you want us to focus on something. Just, you know, if you got the spare change and you want to take part in that, you want to help us grow, that is something to be aware of. And you know what? I did all the plugs out of the way. I might as well just do the final one here. Merchandise shops are TeePublic and Redbubble. If you don't know what I mean by that, go to the website, and if you see on the little nav bar, it says merchandise shops, you'll find information about it there. Same thing for Fanboys Anonymous, and same thing for A Mango Teas. Not Tree, Teas. Kind of sped through that.
Very good.
Yeah, let's start getting into the hot tags here. We're going to save the Slammy Awards for second to last. Let's take care of the trademark stuff first. WWE has tried to apply for a trademark of The Collective, which is pretty interesting because GCW uses that name. And
You know what's funny is I already forgot that this was like the all right. I can't believe that they did this. Right. It's like, look, I guarantee you that they were at the Collective. We cannot say that they weren't at the Collective. WWE filmed content at the Collective, so they know. However, I don't think that they're going to use it for a show. I
Nope.
don't even think that they're going to use it in spite of, right? Like I don't. That's like saying, when WWF was doing a show and WCCW was doing something that, oh well, they took it from us. You know, um, I just look. It sucks. It makes WWE look shitty, but they're not going to use it. I'm sure it's like the name of the faction for fucking Karen Q and them.
See, that's where. Mm, shouldn't have drank water before I started talking. So that's where I think it's even more interesting because, yeah, I'm expecting that this is not actually going to go through, that they'll challenge the trademark and GCW probably. If they have access to the trademark, then they'll win because they already have the trademark, That's just as big as WWE is, they can't win everything. That's kind of what the law is all about, But it seems like it's more for a stable. And the bigger talking point to me isn't the potential legal situation. It's, well, what's the stable if that's the case? Because they're not going to rename Retribution. We've got already like the Hurt Business and whatever. Like we've got groups, but the Collective, what could that be? I don't think it would be the Karen Q thing, if that is even Karen Q. But like, I can't think of another thing that would work with the Collective. We have the Way on NXT, the whole Roman Reigns and head of the table and everything, that the Collective doesn't work with that.
Um,
Maybe this is like the offshoot instead of doing Bivens Enterprises because that didn't take off.
maybe that would be good.
Because Bivens, Malcolm Bivens, if anybody doesn't know, he seems to be recruiting Tyler Rust. So maybe he's going to come in with this idea of, well, we are now the Collective and this is a big group of people. Because it didn't make any sense, too. I don't understand the idea of it's Bivens Enterprises and the group name is Induce Share because it's just a tag team. It threw me off that on my tag team list, I had to say, well, the tag team of Induce Share of Bivens Enterprises. That
Well,
just doesn't
but the
work.
mistake was not immediately introducing other members of
Yeah,
Business Enterprises, because you can say Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard are the brainbusters of the Bobby Heenan family, which also consists of Haku, Andre the Giant, etc., etc.
right.
You could say New Age Outlaws of D-Generation X.
AOP was in The Greater Good before it was
Uh,
called The Greater Good. And
like,
if you had like Induce Share and Tyler Rust, then it's like they make up Bivens Enterprises, but they didn't. And for that matter, Induce Share only popped up twice, so that's just that whole different side of mess. But that's the only thing I can think of is Bivens because they are doing something with him. Like they keep showing him
finally.
with that, and he's trying to recruit at least Tyler Rust. Maybe other people come into the mix too. Maybe that forms the Collective. It's kind of weird that that's happening after they just pushed the Robert Stone brand away.
Yeah, NXT this year sucked. Like the more I look at it, broad scope, the more I'm just like, oh, they didn't have a good year. They had a very discombobulated and broken year. And I mean, you could argue so did the rest of the world, but I think at the end of the day, like even Raw had more consistency than NXT.
Not good consistency.
Not good consistency, but storyline consistency.
They were consistently the same product, but the
Yeah.
product was worse than NXT. Yeah, I'm looking at the roster list right now, and it's like I can't imagine that the Miz and John Morrison add any more people to make a stable. I don't think that we are going to get like Drew McIntyre and Sheamus and Keith Lee is going to be called the Collective. Nobody else on Raw makes any sense to me. The Hardy Bros, they're not going to add anybody else. There's no
Fun fact.
women's group that makes any sense to me, period, out of this mix. It's not like Bianca and Sasha are going to create the collective. It's got to be
Fun
more
fact.
than, it's got to be
When
3 or more people to be a collective.
so the collective is it's gotta I'm going with it's gotta be a stable, because what's the trademark filed under? Is it under like, and this is for, you know, so it's the trademark registration is intended to cover the categories of wrestling exhibitions and performances by a professional wrestler and entertainer rendered live. So it just says it's for a wrestler. So it doesn't say like it's for a show, right? Because
That
I could see
implies more that it's like a tag team or a stable, I think.
yeah, because I could see there being a show called The Collective, and it's like, here's this classic slew of matches on WWE The Collective. You know,
That's more collection, though, than collective.
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out. I mean, for God's sake, they trademarked The Way, and I was not thinking, oh, this will be the Johnny Gargano stable on NXT.
Where were they going with never knowing the way? Good song. Yeah, unless there's some kind of weird plans for some group to make up, like Apollo Crews starts teaming with a bunch of people, or whatever. There's nothing on SmackDown either, and it's the Bivens thing. That's the only thing I can think of. And you just throw a couple other people in there. Maybe Tino Sabatelli gets in the mix because he's
Is it if it is Bivens? I wonder if that pisses off the indie people even more, because Bivens knows.
right. It wouldn't be necessarily his call though. They could just
Yeah,
be
it's
like, "What we
true.
want to call it, the collective. I think that's a better name going forward." And then he could be like,
For
"All
that
right,
matter,
boss. Like, just whatever."
are you surprised that they got away with The Way? And are you surprised that they get away with things like Austin Theory yelling, "This is the way," before hitting his finisher? Like, do you think Disney's like, "Whoa, hold on a minute there, pal,"
Why Disney?
because Mandalorian, they get away with
Oh,
saying, "This
this is
is
the
the
way.
way."
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Wow, great show. Maybe if they start saying, "Well, we're gonna nickname somebody else Mando," and they start going, "Never mind that shit."
It's gonna be Mando and Lori are the collective.
Yeah, Mando and Lorian. Yeah, I think that that's something to pay attention to, but we might not get any information about that period because they might have to go with a different name. It might just be like, a couple weeks from now we get some new stable and it's like, you know what, they were originally going to be called I was going to the Mandalorian. I still have that in my head. They were originally going to be called the Collective and they had to change it to something else. Another trademark thing though is that AEW filed trademarks for AEW Dark, which I'm like, wait, they
They
didn't
didn't
have
have
that
that already?
before? Like, that's kind of strange. And AEW Elevation. And
There we go.
seems like that would be that second show,
There we go. Am I
which I got to nitpick. This is one of those things that bugs me. It bugs me more than I'm sure anybody else because I'm just a stickler for some of these kind of annoying things. Here's a little crossover from fanboys. They have never at any point ever said that Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, whatever, is called the DCEU. It has never been referred to in that fashion.
correct?
Everybody else just made up this term, and it's been traced back. Some random dude on some random post one day on some website, I forget what website it was, just called it the DC Extended Universe because it was like, well, they don't have a name for it, so it's an extended universe worth of things. And people took this and said, it's the DCEU. And people like in more legitimate, like talking to Jeff Johns and stuff will be like, oh yeah, in the DCEU. And it's like, there is no DCEU. They don't call it that. I hate that we keep referring to this as, well, AEW is going to get a second show. AEW Dark is 2.5 hours long. They have a second show.
Hold on, because we're not saying it out of the fucking blue. They have a contract that states that they're gonna get an extra show, and Tony Khan went out of his way to be like, and it's not dark. All right then.
Yeah, but
So
then why don't we refer to it as the third show? Everybody keeps saying on every website and everything, it's always
okay,
the second
I
show.
start saying because it's the second show officially on television.
Right. And that's just where I'm saying, like, I nitpick, and that bugs me because I'm like, it's their third show because the other one's longer than the other show is. Like, it's not like you can go, well, it's not really a show. It's a 10-minute segment on YouTube. Then okay. But when it's
When
two
it
and a half
started
hours
out
long,
as a collective of
uh,
dark matches, and it was called Dark, it was like, okay, it's their YouTube thing, Dark. When it became, it's got 18 matches and a talking segment.
yeah,
It's their second show.
it's got, yeah, an average of about 15 matches. It's got a full, every week it seems at this point, you got to have Britt Baker talking, and you run the same commercials. So it's got commercial breaks. It's a show. It's a 2.5 hour long show. It's
That,
a regular show. It just happens to be on YouTube,
real
which
quick, that's
wasn't
starting to
Cobra
get on
Kai
my
on YouTube.
nerves.
Yeah.
That's true. But that's starting to get on my nerves. This whole like, hey, we know that you switched over to television to get away from commercials. Here's commercials. It's like,
Yeah, you don't like
come
seeing
on.
the commercial about the bubbly 6 times every episode of Dark?
It's come on, man. Like that nitpicking real quick. The network is getting way too comfortable airing ads before every video I click on. I'm getting very sick of these streaming platforms that I pay for being like, here's ad money, here's more ads.
And
Stop
that's why people use ad blocks, because that's just the way that it is. By the way,
it. Right.
$5 ad block forgiveness tier on Patreon.
I
uh,
wonder if that's why I don't get ads in the middle of my network videos on my computer. You might have just solved that thing for me. Thank you, Tony.
oh, it's entirely why.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you block Origin.
Yeah,
Just
that's exactly
saying.
what I use.
So
Sponsor us, please.
please sponsor us, even for $1. That sounds so desperate, but it's true. I don't like the name AEW Elevation. I get it. And to me, this is what's weird about it, is it strikes me as it's just another supportive thing, which if their secondary show is NXT for AEW, then okay. But the name's kind of like, eh.
So, Tony Khan also said that he's very much considering building the pilot of whatever this third show may be around the FTW belt.
Ew.
Now, hold on. If you're going to say that this is a platform to elevate talent, I'm okay with it. I don't ever want to see anybody like Cody on Elevation. But then also, like, maybe AEW is already getting to the point where some of their big stars can use two shows to tell some stories. I don't
Well,
know.
AEW Dark has been useful for that, but they got to cut down. Like, eventually, when they get to a point where they're going to be touring again, which it's going to happen, whether it's later this year or it's next year or whatever, we can't just, everything just
Whether
stays
it's
exactly the
later
same.
this year, he says, on December 23rd.
Oh, yeah, technically speaking, later in 2021. Uh, you can't record 15 matches before Dynamite. They just can't. That's going to run the crowd. They're going to be completely out of it, And I guess technically speaking, you can do AEW Dynamite and then do the Dark recordings afterward, but you can't still do like 11 matches because then nobody's going to pay attention when it's dark. They're going to leave and go, it's just dark. Let's just head home and beat the traffic and whatever. So they're going to have to go back to doing half-hour long shows where it's like one match before and one match after or so.
Well, if you remember, when Dark was in front of people, they were doing shit like, oh, and here's the Elite in an 8-man tag match. Please stay. They were doing it right when they had people. They just have to go
Yeah,
back to doing exactly what they were doing.
they're not going to get people to stay afterward if the match is Kylan King versus Alex Gracia. Now, they've got value to them. I'm not saying that they're like the worst people in the world or anything like that. But, they're not fully established. They're not names right now. Most people probably have no idea who I've even just mentioned. But that's not going to get people to go, oh, okay, we're going to stay afterward. You're going to need to have at least like some kind of a name for that. And I'm assuming what happens here is AEW uses Dynamite as their Monday Night Raw on Wednesday nights. They just stay like that. They've got episodes of AEW Dark that they record a match beforehand and a match afterward for every episode of Dynamite. And that airs probably still on Tuesdays, but maybe not. It might not, because, you know, that doesn't have to air at any particular time. They can move that any time because it'll have already been taped. And then this AEW Elevation show will air maybe instead of Dark on Tuesdays, maybe Dark will move to like Fridays or, you know, Thursdays. I would assume maybe Thursday would be the better option because then it's the day after you recorded it, you know? Maybe Saturdays. No, that couldn't be Saturdays because they've got the pay-per-views.
I definitely want. So right now, Thursday's the only day without any wrestling.
Outside of NXT UK.
Oh, fuck. Really? Okay, so scratch what I just said there. There are no days without any wrestling. So you know what? Just put it on Saturday.
I think Thursday makes the most sense. I think you go Elevation on Tuesday, Dynamite on Wednesday, Dark on Thursday. That's kind of like you're exhausted of AEW at that point, but then again, WWE's like, hey, WWE 24/7, you know?
Yeah, it's really bad.
But I think that they're going to use Elevation as their NXT, and I think that you're going to see like the Acclaimed, for instance. They're wrestling tons of matches on AEW Dark, and you've got Serpentico against Fuego del Sol and whatever. Those names are going to be on Elevation. They're not going to be on Dark.
So what the fuck is Dark for? Dark just becomes like
Dark would be
SmackDown?
the 2 extra bonus matches a week where they can do like Sean Spears against somebody. I think that that's what it's going to be. That way they've got an hour-long Elevation.
They've got a lot of content for people who don't have a large history or roster. Like,
Yeah.
they've got a lot of content.
I think that that's what's going to happen. So stamp it in there. This is Tony's prediction. AEW Elevation on Tuesday nights, and it's an hour-long show featuring people like Top Flight and Red Velvet and whatever. AEW Dynamite on Wednesday nights, 2 hours the way that it normally is. They record one match before and afterward, and they air that the following night, Thursday night, on YouTube, on Dark. Or maybe they even make it to where it's like Dark is the lead-in to, hey, remember everybody, AEW Elevation, it's coming up next on TNT on Tuesday nights. They might do that, actually. Because then that gives them like an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. We'll know. Honestly, we'll know very soon.
I think we will. I think maybe as soon as New Year's Smash, they might announce it.
I hope they. I'm gonna die in January, guys. I want you to know that. Like, I'm not gonna be here past the first week of January because that first week is just death, and it's a wrestling show like 3 times a day. It's wild that first week.
I've written up, at this point, I'm not even joking, I've written up a full month worth of articles in advance, and I already feel like I'm behind.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. That's the way that
Wrestling
everything is.
It's just wrestling, by the way. Movies ain't doing this shit. It's
No.
just wrestling.
No, look at the amount of movie review points on Fanboys. Dried up like a complete well. Which, by the way, if you're interested, I did my 6 Flicks picks, and that'll be posting very soon.
That is not Tenet. I know that.
No, 6 Flicks picks. Looking forward to 2021.
Oh, okay.
Of the if I could only watch 6 movies coming out in 2021, which 6 would they be? That kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Although Tenet was in the top, I think in the top 6 of last year and this year. I'm already brushing past that.
Yeah, you have brushed past 2020 twice in this conversation.
At this point, I want to get to October 2021 That's all I want to get to. I just want to get to my wedding and just be like,
I have a vacation.
I'm taking a couple weeks to like enjoy life for the first time in 10 years. That's sad. This is a very sad podcast when I keep talking when I get into that kind of stuff, isn't it? Well, we're talking about AEW Elevation and AEW Dark and whatever. There is also more talk about WWE having a different show. Now, we were talking about NXT India. We've talked about NXT Japan. Let's talk about NXT Mexico. Although this might not necessarily be NXT Mexico. The idea in mind, according to Wrestling Inc., is that WWE is thinking about having some kind of, I don't know, like how they're wording it outside of this, but like a Mexican Lucha Libre series, which would sort of be like, hey, why don't we piggyback off of Lucha Underground and kind of have NXT Mexico, but kind of not, because they might not need to necessarily put all the resources in for that. If you call it NXT Mexico, you would think that they would need to have like the NXT Mexico champion, the NXT Mexico tag team champions, the NXT Mexico women's champion. If they just say like, hey, it's NXT Lucha Libre or something.
NXT Lucha. By the way, that's essentially 205 Live with extra steps, and I think we just need to stop.
It's 205 Live where you say, yeah, but some of you can't play. It's unnecessary. It's completely unnecessary. How many people are you going to have on this fucking show? You got Legado del Fantasma, the Lucha House Party, Rey Mysterio.
You're missing the point of these. They want to invade. That's the wrong word. They want to go to more countries and sign
and
more
slap
talent.
the brand on there.
Yeah.
They want it to be, well, you guys have your own shows over there, but you can become WWE franchises essentially, which I don't blame them for. Like
It's a
I get it.
smart move. It's a smart move that should have been done 10 to 15 years ago when there was no other wrestling than WWE. WWE should have made the move to become a new NWA powerhouse hub. The problem was the one guy that likes NWA, that's in a position of power now, Triple H, was not in the position of power in 2005 because he was too busy actually still being a wrestler.
What was the year that Brett came back and Hogan switched to TNA?
2010.
2010? This should have happened around then. Because pretty soon afterward, you would assume by 2011, WWE knew TNA's not a threat. Like, just definitively, it's not a threat. And if they would have said, let's get into the expansion things, let's do this, I think that it's could have worked out better in the long run. And right now, it's better than if they waited, too. Like, if they do this now and it works out, then that's okay. But it's oversaturation. Like, it's been oversaturation. And we keep talking about how you don't need main event. You don't need the Drew McIntyre Stone Cold podcast. He even throws a little jab out there. He's like, yeah, I mean, I've been wrestling on Superstars for the past year or whatever. Like they know, like everybody in the company knows that like main event is a completely worthless show. And it's definitely just for the Hulu thing. But if they expect people to watch that, then it's a whole extra hour's worth of just being like, I'm sick and tired of WWE this week. And you don't want to watch that when it comes to, nobody, as obsessed as you are on anything, nobody can really stomach to watch something every minute of every day. There are people that do. There are plenty of people that they are obsessed with football and they would watch ESPN break down the same football game 12 hours in a row and just from every angle. And let's talk about that one pass 100 times. There are people that are like that, but it's not the majority. It's not the norm. I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the James Bond franchise, Star Wars up until Disney took it over and everything.
Mandalorian's great.
That is great.
New Star Wars.
But even that, like, I differentiate. Like, I don't think that Wonder Woman 1984 is going to be good. I've read the script. I think that it sucks. I'm anticipating that I'm not going to enjoy the movie all that much. But I'm looking forward to watching it because it's like, oh man, I haven't seen a new superhero movie in years. Not years. Feels like years.
Feels like years. Yeah.
Yeah, like the most recent superhero movies that I've seen were New Mutants and Birds of Prey. Yeesh, you know, like it's gonna be
Oh,
better
you
than that.
poor thing. The
Yeah, that's all
Fantastic
that came out this
Emancipation
year.
of Harley Quinn.
Yeah, that's all that came out this year.
Oh my
So
god, that was this year?
yeah,
Yes. It was February, wasn't it?
yep.
Holy shit.
Again, years ago. So like NXT Mexico or whatever they would call it. Maybe they partner up with AAA. Maybe they partner up with CMLL, whatever, and they kind of use them as their main like kind of hub. But how much more can I watch? You know, like
It's a great question.
I'll tell you the answer. It's none. I can't watch anymore. I'm
Damn.
fucking tired of it. I don't want to watch anymore. Get rid of 205 Live. Get rid of Main Event. Here's what I wouldn't mind. Like in the grand scheme of things, I wouldn't mind this. If they were to say we're going to incorporate like NXT India, we're going to do NXT Japan, NXT Mexico, and they're going to be monthly specials, then that's cool. Then it's just a matter of, well, you know, it's an extra like event. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that, you know, but they're not going to do that. They'll try to make a TV show. So
Well, but okay, so we don't need NXT India, but I'll allow it because that is a starved market. Mexico don't need no fucking extra wrestling, pal. We got AAA, we got CMLL. I'm sure we've got others. We got Arrow Lucha, we got Crash Lucha. Listen, we don't need any more wrestling in Mexico. I say we like I live there. I don't. But look, I think I'm just a little burned out on this. Like, oh my god, wrestling is in this crazy boom. You guys are overblowing the boom. The boom was in 2014 when AJ went over to Japan and joined the Bullet Club, and the Bullet Club took over the world for a little while. The boom arguably could have even been 10 years ago when CM Punk sat on the stage and was like, hey, Vince, suck my dick. I might even go to Ring of Honor. You know, like that was the boom. It's 10 years later. There's too much. There's too much and not enough talent to suffice.
yeah. Well, there's lots and lots of talent, but
I
a
say
lot
all
of
that.
people are still in the very early stages of their careers, and you can't bank on them being the next Stone Cold Steve Austin when they've got 2 years worth of experience.
And let me just say this. The collective, the actual one that was supposed to be in April of this year, had over 100 events and didn't need to happen. Okay? Like, COVID killed a lot of things. My hope was that it would kill the idea that we need 100 events for wrestling every April in one city. There's too much going on right now. And God bless everybody trying to work. I'm not saying, like, don't try to work, but there's too much going on right now. I work for 2 sites and I can barely keep up with it. Okay. Like,
Mhm.
sometimes you spread yourself too thin, as you very well know, Tony.
Yeah.
Stop spreading yourselves thin. Let's focus on making the base product as good as it can be because WWE now more than ever is coasting on its laurels and its brand name.
You know what they should do? They should switch then now forever to now more than ever.
Yeah, and really,
Vince should come out now
because
more than ever.
that's exactly what it is. Because now more than ever, WWE is just like, oh, but we're doing all this. Yeah, but you don't need to. Raw's in shambles. Fix Raw.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, not to go on that tangent again, because I know that it's going to trigger you, but the brand split. Like, sometimes the brand split can be very, very advantageous because it's like, well, it gives this person a chance to win a world title and we could call them a world champion in the past and whatever, all that other kind of stuff. But then other times it's like, okay, you don't have the same amount of people because you've got 5 hours worth of TV just from Raw and SmackDown. So now you can't have fresh matches because if you did have the whole talent on one 3-hour show, suddenly instead of the Street Profits versus Angel Garza and Andrade, 17 matches per year, you can have them fight King Corbin's crew, and you can have them fight whatever, because that's the way that it used to be. They used to have a smaller roster, but they also had a smaller episode count that they needed to work with.
Right.
Like, you had maybe a fifth of the roster is what you have now, but you had 2 hours a week, period. So, yeah, maybe Flash Funk popped up. Maybe he didn't. Like, it's just the way that it was. I don't
I
know why I
love
went with
that.
Flash Funk, but
No, we're sticking with that.
I don't like the idea of an NXT thing happening 3 expansions in 2021. And of course, that's assuming that they do the Mae Young Classic, which could come back. They did say that they wanted to do it in 2020.
You want to do another brand, and I'm not usually one of these guys, but you want to do another brand? Do the all women's show already.
And just
Do
move
that.
all of them off of Raw and SmackDown and all that.
And just have them kill it on their own show. You would be able to legitimately see how much of your audience is
Hmm.
just there for women's wrestling, because how many people have we not come in contact with in the last 2 or 3 years, Tony, that's just like, oh, I only watch women's wrestling.
Right.
I stomach through the rest of it to get to what I want to see. So do that if you're desperate for another brand.
And I've already made up the logo. You call it WWE Girl Power, and you take the W in power and make that the WWE logo, and it's the simplest thing in the world.
Oh, by the way, we're going to talk about this when we talk about the Slammies. I have never missed the term diva more in my life than I did today, because I think that that separation was good. I know the connotations that are associated with the word weren't the greatest, but I think the separation of the branches of superstars was a lot better.
So let's get into the Slammies. What got you thinking about that? Unless it's
It's the obvious thing where it's we have the male superstar of the year, the female superstar of the year, and then the overall superstar of the year. My biggest issue with this was that one guy, one male, and overall superstar, and that was Drew McIntyre. I don't like this because you didn't need the final event. You could have just done man of the year, woman of the year. If you wanted to make it seem like, and this one's better than all of them, then don't have the other two.
now
But you can't exclude the women.
I do have male, female, and overall superstar for the end of the year awards for Smark Moment, which is
But I
coming up.
can guarantee you they will be different picks.
At the very least, between the three of us, we're gonna have some differences. That's for
Yeah.
sure. So here's a breakdown of the Slammy Awards. It happened earlier, and we're gonna run down all the awards and
The
go
highlights.
through.
There was a lot of highlights. I'll say this. I think the Slammy Awards should have been in the Thunderdome. We've seen award shows this year without an audience. You should have taken the Thunderdome, converted it into like some kind of cool award stage, and that's what you do on Christmas Day instead of like an actually newsworthy SmackDown, which we will get into later.
Yeah, I think that they would have done better if they would have incorporated this into an episode of SmackDown for sure.
Or
Or
Raw.
if they would
Or
have done it
Raw.
on Raw. Yeah, because Raw this
Raw.
week, it wasn't like it was the biggest show in the world. They had this week they're doing just like a street fight. That's a thing.
Where everybody follows the rules.
Yeah, why was that a thing? There you go. We'll talk about that real quick. Yeah, everybody just like standing on the apron and like adhering to the referee saying it's a no DQ match. Get in there, hit somebody
Yeah,
with
I was like,
something.
what are you doing? Everybody should have just been running around with the candy cane kendo sticks. No, we're gonna follow the rules. They're just rules. What the fuck was that?
Yeah, they're all being
Also,
very, very polite. I don't understand that at all.
also on the Raw side of things, they tried to get around the Miz cash in by being like, and Morrison actually cashed in, which credit to them, I did not catch on the pay per view. I caught it
Me
in the
neither.
recap. I caught it in the recap where I realized that Morrison said, "We are cashing in," and that is not how that works. So if they get the briefcase back to the Miz, I'm all for it.
I think that that's a clever way to do it. So I'm kind of in for that. Um, they this is weird. They decided that they weren't going to have the Slammy Awards be at 10 o'clock. They switched it, and they said, actually, that's the pre-show. It starts at 10. And I was thinking to myself, do you need a fucking pre-show?
You
Like,
gotta get the bump in, Tony.
well, they
We gotta
did
see
go
Kate.
throughout the show because they did the pre-show, and they also incorporated a bunch of random extra categories that nobody had a chance to vote for, which
But
was
it was really good though.
entirely WWE just giving out awards for things that they wanted to give awards out for, which they've
Which
done
is
in the
how it should
past.
be, quite frankly. I'm sorry, but like, it's the Slammy Awards. It's a fake fucking thing. It's let WWE decide this.
I'm
Um,
50-50 on it. I think that giving people the opportunity to vote gives WWE the chance to know how people think, and that's
they
good.
don't listen either way. What the fuck?
But at the same time, it's funny when they can book certain kind of things. Like, I'll still say, out of all the moments, out of all the Slammy Awards in the entire history of the ceremony, my favorite thing is Owen Hart stealing the awards because it's just so good. It's just, yeah, I can't believe I won, whatever, and he wins best bow tie. Why does he win best bow tie? He's not wearing a bow tie because he just goes up to present it and just goes, I won, woo, and just leaves. It's fucking great.
That's amazing because he always calls himself I'm a two-time Slammy Award
Yeah,
winner. He doesn't have two Slammys.
he didn't
He just
win.
won.
He
Just
didn't.
won.
So it's like, and I love even then the clip of that when he shows him. I haven't seen this clip in years, but he's teaming with Bulldog, and he's gonna fight Vader and Mankind. And he's like, I'm a two-time Slammy Award winner. Bulldog, you've got 2 titles, but you aren't a two-time Slammy Award winner. I love the thing too when he's stepping out and he gets in front of Bulldog and the camera during the match and everything.
I love
Great.
that.
Owen Hart's so fucking good. God, I love Owen Hart. But I like when they can make up these kind of things because sometimes it's in this sort of situation where like, yeah, gimmick it a little bit for me, and I'm okay with it. If it's a stupid, silly thing, then that's cool. I don't like when they do that and they say, we've picked the superstar of the year. Because then you're just like, well, then you're just, I get you want to control your narrative, but you're just telling people what to do. You're just
But it,
saying, if you don't cheer who we want to cheer, you're being a bad fan. And if you don't like our creative, you're being a bad fan. And if you're whatever, it's like that's not how creativity works.
that
You
used
don't
to work out a lot better for them before, like people started getting wise to stuff. Because
Yeah, I
that
mean
used to
back
work
in
out
like
very well.
back in the 80s, the 90s, whatever, they could just say that's whatever it is. People will be like, "Oh yeah, I guess it is. Jack
Even in
Tunney's the
the
president." you know.
even in the early, the late 2000s when they did the whole, hey, Shawn and Taker are the match of the year, and we're just gonna use this to. Is anybody gonna argue that Shawn and Taker are the match of the year? Like, is anybody gonna argue Superstar of the Year in 2009 is Chris Jericho? Like, it. I think it worked out when they weren't so. Hey, we're gonna shove Roman Reigns down your throat. We know you hate it, but suck it.
I do think though that they sometimes create awards just because the voting didn't go that way. And I think that that's what happened with one of these. I'm bouncing around a little bit here. I'm not going in order because we don't need to. Nobody's going to be like, you said the fourth award first, whatever.
Well, I will say if you want to start at the top, Evan T. Mack and Josiah Williams did this rapping intro for the Slammies, and I'm like, huh, they're actually very talented men.
Yeah, it was fun. They made fun of the Rocks, the turtleneck thing and everything.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
But I think one of the awards that they created out of nowhere for this section that was just sort of, hey, and there's also these extra things that we never gave you any nominees for and you couldn't vote for or whatever. One of them was Double Cross of the Year, which went to Bailey attacking Sasha Banks. And I'm like, wasn't that already nominated in something else? And it was. It was nominated for Moment of the Year, which went to The Undertaker's Final Farewell. So
I,
in my
I
mind,
think they knew that Undertaker was going to win that.
I think that they knew that they probably weren't going to get the Bailey and Sasha thing there, so they created the Double Cross of the Year thing, which they've done in the past, mind you. It's not like this is a brand new category, but I think that they were like, well, we got to put the graphic up there because we need Bailey at some point to cut a promo and say, I won that for, I got a Slammy Award for betraying you because I'm a heel and ha ha ha, like that kind of thing. Again, I'd probably do it in that scenario too. I'm not blaming them. If I were running the creative and I wanted them to have a moment where they said, this was a Slammy Award winning moment when she did that. Isn't that great that we did that this year, everybody? And people didn't vote for it and you can get away with it. Yeah, then make one up and just say that she won that one instead.
I am mad at it because they did the best thing at the end of the Slammers.
With her saying that she was
after R-Truth signs off, she's taking the photo shoot with her Slammies and she's like, yeah, and I still won and nobody even voted for me, so suck it. Like, I enjoyed that. Like, Bailey to me should have at least been given female superstar of the year. Like, Bailey was very, very good this year and she shouldn't have been. And honestly, she was the best thing to come out of the no fans COVID era, because Bailey found herself and has been so much fun to watch.
Not my pick for Superstar of the Year.
Well, obviously, you were done with Bailey on January 1st.
I was done with Bailey a year and a half ago. So some of the other categories that they just added extra. The first one was most clever 24/7 championship pin of the year, which they went to Drew Gulak dressing up as the janitor.
I don't know if I would have went with that one.
No, I wouldn't have.
We had some fun stuff this year. We had like R-Truth in the beginning of the pandemic pinning Riddick Moss while he was going for a jog in his socially distanced neighborhood. We had the thing with Gronk, even that was kind of fun.
Well, he won one for Celebrity Appearance of the Year, which I don't think was great.
I don't think he should have won that one either, though.
I don't know how you go Celebrity Appearance of the Year and you don't go Pat McAfee.
Yeah, well, because that's NXT.
Different. I know. Oh, that's true. Yeah, I guess it's only Raw and SmackDown that they're doing.
Different universe. I would have went with the Gobbledygooker. I would have went with R-Truth beating the Gobbledygooker by getting him with the bird seed.
Yeah.
Because that was funny.
That was so much better. That should have won the 24/7 one. I don't know why it didn't.
Or even, I don't remember how he pinned Gronk, but I know that leading up to it, he was like, Tom Brady, I'm going to kick your ass. Like, that's funny. Well, R-Truth, as a host of this thing, R-Truth is not, like, the things he says categorically aren't funny. The fact that he delivers them with such sincerity, like he really believes this is what's going on, is what makes R-Truth the funniest character in WWE.
Yeah, he is so earnest about everything. Like when he just calls Ricochet Richard O'Shea and he's not breaking at all. And Ricochet's cutting. This was happening on Raw Talk last night. Ricochet's like, practically weeping, talking about how he's losing all these matches and he doesn't want to like sacrifice his character or whatever. And R-Truth's just sort of like, yeah, like such and such. And it's just kind of like, you didn't break character. That's great. R-Truth is so fucking good.
He did it with the Hurt Business. He's like, because he interrupted their little photo shoot and they're on Raw Talk. And he's like, that's not me. That looks like me. That guy runs like me. But that's not me. And Cedric Alexander is crying. And R-Truth won't break. It's so good.
R-Truth is,
He also called Edge Edward?
Yeah, Edward. I thought he said Edgeward at first, but he said Edward, and either way, it's fucking great. Just like, all right, yeah, I'm coming for you, Edward, or whatever.
I know you want my European television 24/7 995 South Championship. It's like, holy shit. This title should just be renamed the R-Truth Special.
Definitely shouldn't be renamed what Charlie Caruso was calling it. The 9/11 747 Championship. That was one of the cringiest moments this entire year. Oh, man.
She didn't mean it. Those are the words that came to her mouth. Unless somebody's just fucking with her on a headset. It's like, yeah, it's the 9/11 747. Which is the worst thing you can say. Yeah. The absolute worst.
I still can't believe she said that. Anyway, Musical performance of the year was Elias, but I don't remember if there was anybody else.
Elias was the only one in the category.
Yeah, so it was what it was. Social media superstar of the year went to Bailey. I don't track any of their social media crap, so I don't
No,
know.
that was another one of those bump things. So the bump ones, let me get them out of the way real quick. Where the social media star of the year, the male trash talker of the year, which went to the whole Hurt Business, which I'll take because they've been fantastic. The
Yeah,
female,
the Hurt Business has been awesome, and I love when they do things like they did on Raw, where the guy's wearing the New Day shirt, and they're just sort of like, "Hey, why are you wearing a New Day shirt? Here, wear a Hurt Business shirt, you little motherfucker!" Like, yeah. Lacey Evans though, she wins female trash talker. I don't
that felt
remember.
like, oh, we
Yeah,
just want to say Lacey Evans won something.
yeah.
I didn't like Lacey Evans.
I don't know any of her quips that I actually
She didn't
liked.
say anything this year. She didn't do anything this year. And I was just like,
It's just
we're gonna
like,
give
oh,
Lacey
honey, she trash talking. She called her sweetheart.
called her an ass. Oh my God, was the thing with her child this year?
The child? What child?
Her child, her daughter. Remember when she was like feuding with Bailey and Sasha and her
No,
daughter?
that was last year, I think. With the
Okay,
whole the hot pockets or whatever it was, or
yeah, thank God. I was gonna
corn
say
dogs. Corn dogs, it was right, not hot pockets.
I have no clue. I just remember that she had a daughter, and for like 5 seconds, that kid was like more charismatic than half the SmackDown roster.
It was like I think they did like a commercial for like Totino's pizza rolls or
Oh yes, yes,
whatever.
they did. Those were corn dogs.
It
Yeah,
was corn dogs. Okay, yeah, corn dogs are good. I haven't had a corn dog in a while.
corn dogs are all right.
Corn dogs are better than any of Lacey Evans' quips this year.
Uh,
I
they
have
had
not had a corn dog this year, and it's still better than any of the things that she had said.
they did the WWE Network documentary of the year. It should have gone to Edge's 24. It went to the
Mm,
last ride. I understand.
that's my number two because the Edge one is so much better, I think.
It's so good. Um,
And
they did.
referee of the
Oh,
year goes to John Cohn's getting ready for this, and it goes to Charles Robinson. And I legit popped at them going, "Oh, Charles Robinson's here. He's gonna accept the word." And it's fucking John Cohn in a wig.
it's John Cohn with a mullet wig acting like a bad Ric Flair because it's Charles Robinson. That was one of the funniest things ever done on the Slammies. And I went, the bump is sometimes good.
John Cohn is just good. I
What are
love
you doing?
John Cohn. Like
What are you doing? I spent 4 hours.
I spent 4
ironing
hours ironing this year. John Cohn, man, like I legitimately feel bad that he didn't win this award because now I'm like, oh man, John Cohn can't say that he won a Slammy award.
Maybe next year.
Maybe I love John Cohn. He is so good in like the things like gaming, WWE Game Night and little stupid backstage things that they do. Cohn is the
He's
man.
he
Like
sired Nicholas, so like shout out to John Cohn.
he may be my favorite referee. Like, I have a certain nostalgia for Earl Hebner, of course, just because Earl Hebner was the referee.
Hebner's great. Kyoto's great. I have that
Yeah,
nostalgia for him.
Mike
If I know their
Chioda
name,
is like rock solid. You can't go wrong with Mike Chioda. Charles Robinson has one of my favorite referee moments of all time when he's running
where
down at WrestleMania 24. I legitimately like if I think of moments that made me happy as a fan and made me get like that feeling in my gut out of the entire history of WWE that I've ever watched or WCW or whatever, that's in the top 10. Like, that's weird to say, but that Charles Robinson running down the ring, I'm at Dace's and I'm watching WrestleMania 24 and I love Edge and Undertaker's my number 2 of all time. And Robinson's running down the ring and I'm like, I fucking love wrestling. Like, because that's when I was still like not, I was into wrestling at that point. I had been watching it for like a full year, but it still hadn't clicked 100% to me yet, you know? And that might be the moment that made me go, I want to make a fucking website and whatever. Like that, I loved that so much. But
that match, underrated streak match.
so good. And then, of course, it ends up shooting fireworks into the fucking vans and stuff.
Oh my God, yeah, somebody died. Like, they died? I don't know if somebody died, but
Nah,
like somebody got injured.
people
For
got
sure.
injured, but they didn't die. Yeah, but like John Cohn, man, he may end up going down as my favorite referee of all time. I love John Cohn. He's so good. I love this moment too.
What a So there was double cross of the year. I think we covered all of the bump stuff.
Yeah, all the extra ones.
They had breakout star of the year. That went to the Street Profits. I kind of looked at it and went, maybe that should have been Otis, but
You didn't
Otis
follow
isn't
through.
having. Yeah.
So following through with it is the big issue because the nominees were Bianca Belair, Dominic Mysterio, Murphy, Otis, and the Street Profits. Murphy didn't do a goddamn thing. Let's be honest. Dominic Mysterio did even less. He won less matches. He didn't accomplish anything.
See, but
Bianca,
I think Dominic could be argued had a great breakout year.
you can argue that in the sense of he went from nothing to being a part of the roster. Like that's a big, big, big difference. So I'd vote for Dominic more than even Bianca because Bianca, she didn't do anything.
She didn't do. I love Bianca Belair. That's no secret.
She's
Bianca didn't.
fantastic.
Bianca didn't do shit this year.
Right. Just because somebody's great doesn't mean that they had a great year. Just because somebody can do amazing things doesn't mean that every time they do a cartwheel that it's the most perfect cartwheel, even if they're the most athletic person in the world. Ricochet's fucked up his entrance before, you know? Bianca Belair is amazing.
And to
And
be
she
clear,
didn't do a goddamn thing.
before somebody listens to this and wants to roast either one of us, yes, I know Bianca came in the Royal Rumble, had a star-making performance, and actually holds the record with Shayna for most eliminations. But after that, she did nothing.
And she holds the record with somebody else, right?
Yeah, it's with Shayna in the same Rumble because they had to build Shayna to look like shit for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Build up Shayna so that she could lose, and then win the Elimination Chamber match so that she could lose, and then spend a couple months not doing anything, win the tag titles, and then lose. So the Street Profits in relation, like Otis was handed the Money in the Bank briefcase, and he lost it. Street Profits won the tag titles in March, and they haven't lost them since. Of course they needed to win Breakout Star. So I'm glad that people voted the right way.
They also got Tag Team of the Year, which you just said it. They've been champions all year.
They became Triple Crown tag team champions this year. They deserve that.
Inside of a calendar year.
Almost all three in the year. They won the NXT titles last year.
Okay, they won the NXT. So inside of 12 months. But yeah, that's amazing.
So that's the type of thing that it's like, man, I don't know if they would have had the same sort of luck if it would have been a normal year. I highly doubt it. They probably would have changed the tag titles at some point just because many things would have changed. And, you know, once you start going down the whole one gear shifts and another gear shifts and another one does, probably something would have changed. But Street Profits were able to capitalize this year. They didn't have the best matches all the time, and they didn't have the best
even though
feuds.
they wrestled Andrade and Angel Garza, who are great a million times.
That's one of the problems is they just did everything a million times. But
they also wrestled the Viking Raiders and had a tentacle creature in a dumpster.
Yeah, and nothing happened with that. You know, I think that if they would have gone with the Golden Role models, it would have made sense. But at the same time, the Street Profits were my pick, so I'm happy about that.
That was presented by, what's his name? Clark Duncan?
Clark Duke?
Clark Duke. What did I say? Duncan?
Yeah, you're thinking Michael Clark Duncan, which completely does not look like him.
Nah, different guy entirely. This is the kid from a Hot Tub Time Machine, which I'd completely forgotten existed.
Never seen it. Don't think I ever will.
Wow, that's shocking. No, good stuff. Good stuff from him. They joked about Miz and Morrison not being on there, and I was kind of like, yeah, they could have at least been in the running.
Yeah, I mean, they were tag champions at one point.
Hey, they won tag team championships in front of people. Who could say that this year, huh?
Yeah. I'd probably go with them over Nakamura and Cesaro to be nominated.
Yeah.
Just because Nakamura and Cesaro held the tag titles probably longer doesn't mean that it's as good.
Did they win them in front of humans? I don't think so.
I don't think that they served much of a purpose. They were just pretty much there, and then they waited a while and then lost the titles. So,
and also, even though Miz and Morrison have lost all of the steam of the original like dirt sheet days and stuff, the Slammies were a big part of that. So I think like that would have been a cool throwback.
Maybe they just wanted to tell the story of them being snubbed because they did have that moment where they're like, you know, how we get snubbed.
Yeah.
So we had Return of the Year, which good looking Looking back on this, I was like, yeah, even more so. This was a blatantly obvious pick. It ended up going to Edge because the other nominees were Goldberg, MVP, Roman Reigns, and Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn's just like, oh, hey, he's back after a little while. Roman Reigns was, oh, hey, he's back after a little while. MVP was, yo, shit, MVP's back. This is pretty sweet. And then by the end of the night, Edge comes back and everybody's like, oh, yeah, MVP did return. And Goldberg was, oh, fuck, for a lot of people.
And Edge, like, it was the most heartwarming moment of the year for me, literally across life and everything. Like, this was the positive of the year was Edge. And
Loved that Edge was able to come back this year because, I mean, there's not many happy stories from this year, like in general. That was one of them. And he is injured and, it didn't go the way that it was expecting to or whatever. But, like, Edge was able to return and he was able to get a hop at the Royal Rumble in front of thousands of people. And that's just amazing.
and it was and a good comeback, really. Like, he did a long match at Mania. I know Callum will kill me if I say it was a good match. He did a long match at Mania and a pretty decent match at Backlash for the greatest wrestling match ever. And I'm just so glad he's back.
Now, I would have potentially given that moment of the year over Undertaker's final
Well,
farewell, but
hold on. We have to talk about Mick Foley accepted this award. And first of all, he's in a winter cabin. He's really becoming Santa Claus. It's happening.
yeah,
Uh,
he's having a slower transition than Tim Allen did, but
yeah.
then again, Mick Foley didn't kill Santa. So.
But he's just becoming Santa. And you had mentioned this to me privately. Even his acceptance speech, because Edge didn't accept any of the awards. Even his acceptance speech was just sort of like, yeah, and I'm happy. Like, he didn't seem enthused. He very much felt like I'm talking to Zoom.
Yeah, nobody seemed enthusiastic. Everybody seemed very. You said the word wooden.
Yeah. Well,
It,
because the other celebrities were just like, I am reading what they sent me.
mm-hmm.
Oh my, weren't these rivalries just so wow? Weren't they so crazy? And I'm on The Bachelorette and I know a thing or two about. No, you fucking don't. Shut up.
Yeah, if there's anyone who knows anything about rivalries or what feuds or whatever, it's me. Sure. What did you argued with Samantha or Becky or whoever the hell was on these shows about, like, I said that I wanted to have the champagne toaster. I don't know what they do on this fucking show. I've never seen it. Somebody handed me a rose and I went on a date in a hot tub and
If anybody knows a thing or two about rivalries, oh boy, let me tell you, it's me.
it's I hate to have one of those, like, one of those moments that people do where it's the, well, when did you ever book anything or like any of those kind of things? Because we hate when people talk about that, but at the same time, it's like, all right, tell me what match you've had or something. Like,
No, but it's because it's like even when she was saying her own compliments, she sounded fake. Like,
right.
and in addition to my Monday Night Raw appearances, you may know me from The Bachelorette and The Bachelor, whatever. I was like, what? No, just say who you are.
It's really bad when the only one that I really felt had personality was Snooki.
In terms of the celebrities, because my favorite moment might have been Trish, but Snooki's was pretty good. Snooki,
She seemed like she actually didn't just read. She was like, hey, I am I don't agree with her at all about this, by the way, but she's like, I'm somebody who knows a lot about fashion. I was in the ring. I did other stuff like that. I thought I did a good job. What do you think? I don't know. Here you go. Here's the whatever people. I'm like, she felt like she was being herself from what I've seen of a little bit of Jersey Shore here and there.
from 10 years ago, like
Or yeah, whatever it was. Like,
too. Snooki is at this point like
yeah,
a
she's
very
popular in like
time
in
stamped.
2000 something, whatever.
Yeah, it's weird, but like, it's like, hey, remember Snooki? No, some kids watching this probably don't. But she did a very good job. I have no desire to ever see her in the ring again. I know that she
Nope.
said she wants to. I hope she never does.
I
But
think that they all do that though. Like, they're always just like, yeah, and the next time that I step in the ring, I'm gonna
no.
whatever.
Like, she literally was like, I've kind of been getting back into shape, and I'd like to see myself in the ring at least one more time.
Oh,
Like,
she
just saying,
like separate from the Slammy thing?
yeah, like separate from this, yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
I'm like, oh god, please. Uh,
Please don't,
but
WWE, don't get wind of this and then go, that'll bring ratings. Yeah.
okay, so rivalry of the year went to Edge and Orton. Orton is fantastic. Only guy to be up for two rivalries of the year. One with McIntyre, one with Edge. Orton basically just said, haha, I killed your comeback. You're welcome.
Yeah, I liked that. You're welcome
Uh,
for making us a rivalry of the year. It's like Orton's so good. Sometimes, he knows what he's doing.
I like that Edge was like, no, I'm not going to accept the stupid fucking slammies. I'll come back when I come back. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Um the was it moment of the year the one that was from the Manny from
No, that was match of the year. Moment of the year was the final farewell of the Undertaker, and we need to talk about this because I've seen it all year at this point, and I still don't like it. Undertaker's just like, oh my god, thank you to the fans for 30 years. Thank you for allowing me to be the character again. Thank you to the production crew. I was like, Jesus,
yeah,
please.
I did not like hearing thank you for letting me be the Undertaker character again. I'm like, no, damn it, you were the one.
You were the one.
Like, you were the one guy who never fucking broke character. And I get that maybe now you're just like, I desperately need to not be the character or whatever, but like, you were the dude who was the Undertaker 24/7. If anybody should be sticking to this and not be doing that, stop calling it the Undertaker character.
And
Like,
not only that, like he had some of the most bubbly acceptance speeches of the night or of the morning, I guess. Like he was just like, "Oh, I'm just so happy." Like, thank you to creative, but he wins match of the year, by the way, and he says, "Thank you to creative." I was like, "What? Why?"
yeah, match of the year goes to the Boneyard match, and I fully disagree. I am not anywhere near as big on that match as other people are. I would have picked the Intercontinental Championship Tournament Finals over this. I would have picked the Royal Rumble match over this. I would have picked Edge and Orton from Backlash over this. I would have picked almost everything. I don't. I'd have to go back and watch like Lynch and Asuka. I don't remember that.
Nah,
You know,
I look. The Boneyard match was special, and it was the one cinematic match this year that they did really well. AJ was like, "Hey, thank you for this. This is an honor, and thank you to the Undertaker for letting me be his final match, and that means a lot to me. So I'll take 25% of this, and the other 75% I give to the Undertaker." And then Undertaker goes, "Oh wow, thank you to the fans, and it's your vote that matters the most. And thank you to the creative geniuses that helped put this together." I'm just like, oh, oh God, Mark, you're killing me here, pal.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. And of course, as we mentioned, male and overall superstar of the year goes to Drew McIntyre. Female superstar of the year goes to Sasha Banks. Drew McIntyre deserved to beat Sasha for the overall superstar, and I don't disagree with Sasha being the one because, like, I'm just gonna spoil a little bit about the end of the year awards because uh, you have a certain amount of people that you can pick. Now, our end of the year awards for the Smark Out moment, we incorporate NXT as well. We don't act like 205 Live doesn't exist, even though we're probably not going to give 205 Live
we,
anything.
we
Like,
will act like it doesn't exist because it didn't do anything this year.
but I mean, like, it's not just like, well, the Slammy Awards are only Raw and SmackDown, and we can't pick anybody else, because then you start getting into like, oh, well, Io Shirai is better than this person, and whatever, like that kind of thing. But Sasha Banks and Asuka were really like two of the only options. Like Charlotte Flair had some, she deserves to be nominated now that she won the tag titles. Well, this Sunday, winning the tag titles boosted her to where she deserved to be nominated. But
she won the Rumble, though.
She won the Rumble, she won the NXT title, and she won the tag titles. That's like, okay, yeah, you definitely deserve to be nominated. Bayley definitely deserves to be nominated. Not my pick. Becky Lynch, to be perfectly honest, I don't think deserved to be nominated. But
she wrestled pregnant. She deserves to be nominated.
Asuka won more than anybody. Yet, it's blatantly obvious that Sasha Banks was a bigger creative priority. Like, there's no question about it. So, I get why people voted Sasha Banks. I don't disagree with it really necessarily.
Banks and Bayley owned this year. I will say it again and again and again and again. They owned this year. They helped take the no fans era and make it entertaining by doing dumb things like saying ding dong hello. Like that was a fun thing. Uh, I think Bailey deserves a little bit more just because she was champion the whole year. But Sasha Banks might have been the first woman to do this. I don't know Alexa's track record, but Sasha Banks won all 3 titles inside of a calendar year. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, like you can't deny that she's done a lot. She did. So
we have to talk about Trish Stratus though, because this was outside of Todd Pettengill, my favorite thing of the night was Trish Stratus being like, "Hey, I'm so happy to be presenting a Slammy. I've never been eligible for a
yeah,
Slammy because they disappeared
right
as
when I
I was
got
coming
there
in."
and
Yeah.
came back right after I left.
And then she goes, but I was the Diva of the Decade. And she pulls out the Raw 10th Anniversary Diva of the Decade award that I would have never expected her to keep. And she's just like, so I have this. Oh, by the way, this is a TV set, kids. And I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And then she's like, and, you know, I'm so happy for the woman of the day. And Sasha Banks gets the award. I like this. Trish Stratus had more personality than everybody.
Yeah, and she had one of the better things of the night. Um, I thought I thought one of the better acceptance speeches was the New Day because they were oddly like adversarial about it.
Yeah,
So
they were very like,
they
are
win
you
ring gear of the year. I don't think we mentioned that. I think we skipped over that one. They win the ring gear, and I don't disagree with that necessarily either. And what was the line that Xavier Woods said? He said something like, uh as long as we're getting shoved down your throats,
yeah.
like then you're gonna deal with it or something.
They're
Like,
just like you had a choice here.
like
First of all, of course we've won because we're elevating what a sports entertainer should be, and while we're getting shoved down your throats, we're gonna keep looking good doing it. And then they tossed it over to Big E, who gives like a very genuine acceptance speech where he's like, and Jonathan Davenport does our designs and main event gear. Keep doing what you do. It was very strange.
yeah, I thought that was funny though.
By the
Yeah,
way, he was wearing the same exact outfit that he presented the Sammy Awards in.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, they probably told him at the exact same time, like, hey, since you're dressed for it, you want to slam it, here you go.
So overall, your thoughts on the Slammies? What do you think?
We didn't talk about Todd Pettengill. Todd Pettengill is great. Please give me more Todd Pettengill. Please have Todd Pettengill host the WrestleMania kickoff shows. He is entertaining. He has a personality, and please give me more. I thought the Slammies were actually very fun. Maybe it's because it was at 10 in the morning and it wasn't like sandwiched between a bunch of matches, but I really enjoyed it.
Overall, I enjoyed it. I think that it could have been done better, but at the same time, I'm very, very glad that they did it. I think that this is the type of thing that there's no reason for them not to do.
Yeah, now that they've proven that they can do it like this, I want the Slammies every year.
They could have done it a multitude of different ways every single year. They could have held it, technically speaking, just on the website. Like, we've had the dirt sheet on WWE's website
In
back in the
fairness,
day.
though, that was back when like the dirt sheets were like 5 minutes long.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they could have done 5-minute long segments.
Yeah, I guess sure.
Like, there's no
Wait,
reason for them not to have done it. They only don't do it because they just don't want to, because they've got that, like,
they go
well,
through phases
it's
where they're like,
passe and we're not going to do it. And then they go, well, we haven't done it in a while. Let's bring that back.
it's tradition. Oh, it's the fucking Slammies. Look, of
Yeah,
course we
so
do Slammies.
they do that kind of crap. And I mean, look, again, sometimes when I'm criticizing something that happens with WWE or AEW or a movie or whatever like that, sometimes if I'm being critical, it doesn't mean that I don't necessarily get it or that I don't necessarily do it either. It's just that that's how it is. I run into my fits where I'm just kind of like, you know what? We've done a lot of like list type things. Let's do more fan announce tables and whatever instead of every month wanting to do a checklist of this and then you do this and do that type of a thing or something like that. I get it. Maybe after a while you're like, I don't want to do the Slammies this year. but then don't put a big show about it. Just do it on a different thing. Like the Slammys started out as a friggin' parody of the Grammy Awards.
And they were very good. I want to watch those older Slammys out there on the network.
You know, it's a surprisingly catchy song.
Is it
If
Stand
if
Back?
you if you only knew.
Oh my god, if you only knew. I love that.
There's an old outro. I forget what episode it is. I should just check the outro list. But
What I'm gonna do to you.
if you
You'd
only
be
knew what the
one
outro is going to do to you, we did a whole thing about that one time.
That's fantastic.
I think it's like you'd be clicking subscribe as something, but I don't know. Like whatever. Go back and check out the episode. I'm sure that's awful, but that's the kind of the whole point of the outros. But yeah, I might end up downloading that song because that's just it got in my head after watching that clip. I'm just like, if you only knew. And I'm like, oh god, I'm singing this now in my head. Yeah, I liked that they did the Slammies. I'm glad that they did it early. We are at this point it's 1:40, and I'm not used to doing the podcast like that, but that's the main hot tags of the week, except for we have one more. Now, this other one is a different story. It's spoilers for SmackDown, so you might not want to necessarily hear it. Before we go from that, let me just toss out another plug here. We've got coming up we did the Slammy Awards coverage here. Later on today, we're going to record the AEW End of the Year Awards, and I'm going to post that either tomorrow or on Christmas. I'm not entirely sure, but we're going to record it. I'm not going to post it later on today because you don't need to get a double podcast today. That's, it's a lot, and the algorithm doesn't like that either. So it'll either be up tomorrow or it'll be up the next day, Thursday, Friday. And then we're going to roll into recording the 2020 Smark Out Moment End of the Year Awards. And that'll come up at some point next week. I'm still not sure when I'm going to post it because I got to figure out what we're going to do with the hot tags. If we do the hot tags next Tuesday, maybe I'll post the End of the Year Awards on Wednesday the 30th. But it's all going to depend on how long we take to record the awards, because if they tend to be like 6 hours long. It's a lot. And, if we record that Saturday, Sunday, and we have Monday, Tuesday open or whatever, I don't know how we're going to end up necessarily doing it. So the hot tags for next week, kind of up in the air. We'll figure it out when we figure it out. It might just be me doing something on a whim and just kind of going like, all right, here's like what happened over the past week since this episode 473. Might be something else. Maybe Rob will be on. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Look, I'm always down to record. Maybe even Callum might be down to record. You just never know.
Yeah. So,
because here at Smark Out Moment, we consider you guys, the subscribers and viewers, like the Smark Out Moment family. Okay? And you spend Christmas with your family. So what we might do is get on a recording with our family. Please give us money.
So, one of the things that you should be aware of when it comes to all that stuff is I've got the feedback survey up, and that also has the section of it for you to be able to vote on the End of the Year Awards. So you're running out of time at this point, because if we're going to start to record potentially on Saturday, then I don't know exactly when we're going to get to the point where it's the End of the Year Awards for the Smart Out Moment side of things. But I'm shutting off the poll, or at least the poll doesn't count past the point when we were returning. Why did I use the word return? That is not at all the word. I just had a complete brain fart. Recording that returning what when we record that, it'll be all right. Well, that's locked in. These are the winners of the best and the worst segment of the year and whatever. So vote while you can and give me the feedback that you can. Constructive criticism is something that goes a long way. I do listen to everybody's opinions about what they like and what they don't like. And whether that's something that's on the website side of things or the podcast or both, or you just want to say, hey, just enjoying what you guys do, great job, or whatever like that, means a lot, actually. So fill out the feedback, fill out the End of the Year Awards, and we'll, run down all that stuff later on and whatever. But if you don't want to know what happens on this week's episode of SmackDown, At this point, I guess leave the rest of the episode muted. Whatever.
And you know where to follow us. We told you that in the beginning.
Yeah.
So this is where you should check out if you don't want spoilers. We love you all. Merry Christmas. We'll see you next
Merry,
week.
very Merry Christmas, everybody, especially if you celebrate that. If it's, obviously, if you don't celebrate that, Merry, whatever you
If
celebrate,
you
happy
celebrate
holidays.
Hanukkah, if you celebrate Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate,
If you
you're
celebrate
fabulous.
nothing, happy December
Festivus.
25th.
Happy Festivus for the rest of
Today
you.
is Festivus, isn't it?
I got a lot of grievances, and you're gonna hear about it.
Something on a pole match. So, spoilers for SmackDown. Again, warning. 3, 2, 1. So the setup is basically the way that we were expecting it to be. They had the steel cage match for the Universal Championship, and Roman Reigns retains. Not at all surprised.
Looks like they're going with Roman and Bryan at the Rumble, though.
Seems like that's the case, and I don't necessarily disagree with it, but at the same time, I
I
think that
don't
they
like
could
it.
have gotten away with something else and saved Bryan for WrestleMania,
That means they have WrestleMania in the bag, doesn't it?
which means it's Goldberg. It's going to be Goldberg, you know it.
Does that mean that Goldberg's gonna win the Royal Rumble?
I
Right
think
now, right now, my
he's
two
my
picks
pick.
to win the Royal Rumble are Goldberg and Brock Lesnar.
Goldberg's my current pick.
Because I'm getting the vibe that Edge, now that it's not like Randy Orton's champion, I don't feel like Edge is gonna win it anymore. So I'm starting to think you have three choices. I just added an extra one because if you want to actually put somebody on the roster over, there is Keith Lee. But I don't get the vibe that Keith Lee is like a top star right now.
I
I
don't
definitely don't think
think that Keith Lee's going to have that match with Brock and Drew. I don't think that that's happening.
I
If that
don't think that they're gonna
happens,
do
it'll be because they had Keith Lee like step in with the Royal Rumble win or whatever. But it doesn't strike me as a thing,
because who else do you have? Because you got Big E. Nobody. There's never been an Intercontinental Champion. Spoiler to win the Royal Rumble, so I don't think they're gonna start now. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's not going to be Big E with that, and I don't think that they're going to have a setup going on where there's nobody else really on SmackDown. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's going to be Goldberg. And the Goldberg and Roman Reigns match, they might use the Royal Rumble to set it up because in their mind, Goldberg comes in around number 28 or number 30, whatever. He eliminates a couple people. Oh, look at that. Goldberg wins his title shot. And then they don't need to do anything because then for the whole rest of February and March, because WrestleMania is the 28th of March, I think.
Yeah, I think that they might move it back into April, but we'll see.
So if they do that, it might be a different story. But if they bump it up an extra couple of weeks, it seems kind of like it doesn't seem like this is a thing, but it is true. 1 or 2 weeks for WrestleMania can make a big difference. If they push that back, they need to figure out 2 more weeks worth of stuff. And if they keep it March 28th or 30th or whatever it was originally, can't remember offhand, that's less time that they need to fill. And they can, for the most part, even though I don't like it at all, they can coast on Roman Reigns fights once in February or March on Raw or on SmackDown. And he fights like, Daniel Bryan or somebody. He has like a tag team match or something where it's just like, I'm going to cut a promo about how Goldberg didn't fight me last year. Goldberg's going to cut a promo about how Roman Reigns ran away instead of doing that, whatever. But I think that the fact that they seem to be leaning towards the Daniel Bryan thing means they got Goldberg locked in. And that sucks.
I'm sorry, that's not acceptable. It's not. Goldberg is the best Royal Rumble opponent, or even like a Super Showdown opponent. Goldberg is not WrestleMania. It was fine last year when it was like, all right, they're both babyface. Goldberg needs to put somebody over. I don't think Goldberg puts over Roman Reigns if he's the heel. because I get the vibe that Goldberg's like, I'm a superhero to the kids, like I
See,
gotta beat the bad guy.
I almost think that means that that's why he's winning the Royal Rumble. Because it'll
Why
be like, you
so
win
he
the
can
Royal
lose?
Rumble, and then you can lose at WrestleMania. Because he won the title from Bray Wyatt, and then was losing WrestleMania. I think it's kind of like, let's give him a big win before we give him a loss. He wins the match against Brock Lesnar. He beats Kevin Owens for the Universal title, drops the title to Brock Lesnar. That kind of booking philosophy of like, let's set up Goldberg so that somebody can beat him. And I think
I,
that's where they're going. Like, at this point, I'm willing to bet money on it.
that
Goldberg wins the
doesn't
Royal
that
Rumble.
doesn't excite me for 20. I got news for you. That does not excite me at all for the next year. If you're telling me,
Nope.
well, Goldberg wins the Rumble, and you know Brock Lesnar challenges the Raw champ. We can't do this anymore. If this year taught us nothing, it should have been, we need to desperately build stars because, oh my God, a pandemic happened, and then Brock Lesnar wasn't going to wrestle in front of nobody. Like, it's that old cliche that, like Shawn Michaels used to say when he was making fun of Hulk Hogan, like, I'll wrestle as hard in front of 300 people in Battle Creek as I would in Madison Square Garden. You kind of need people with that mentality. I think this year proved that because you needed people who were going to be fine wrestling in front of nobody.
And Drew McIntyre is that type of guy. You can tell how passionate he is, where he was just like, they're giving me the ball? Fuck yeah. I'm going to do everything I can. I'll cut this promo this way. I'll do this, whatever. Not everything he's done has worked, but I got a lot of respect for Drew McIntyre from this year. And I really don't want them to just be like, LOL, let's get Brock back and you can do whatever and let's reset everything and have Brock win the title. And like that, the Goldberg thing's bad enough. If they do the Brock thing, that's even worse, I think. At that point, I'm really checked out for WrestleMania.
You can't do both of them challenge. Let me put this way. You could do both of them defending. Because both of them defending means both of them are going to lose. You can't do both of them challenging. You can't tell us this is where we're at in 2021.
Where we need the guys that were big in 2000 something to come in and just, after a year away, guys, come in and save us. It's just, whatever.
It's a bad look. And honestly, people were looking forward to Big E. I never had a lot of faith in that one.
Me neither.
But now that he's the Intercontinental Champion, I have less faith than ever. He's not winning
he won the Intercontinental Championship from Sami Zayn
in a
as
match.
fully expected. Because
Tony called it. I thought they would wait for next week, but no, they did it on a taped show in front of nobody. So good job, guys.
Yeah, it's the typical thing of something happens here, so let's put it on the TV show instead. Which, again, the fourth time I've said this episode, I don't blame them 100%. Like, I get that the ratings are bad right now and they need to try to bump the ratings up, so they need to take some stuff away.
But
There's the problem, though, actually. Right there, I caught myself in saying that. You don't need to take stuff away from the pay-per-views. You need to add stuff to the TV shows, but because they don't want to do the effort of creating enough to go around, they have to take away from that because they're like, well, we already tapped out. We don't want to do the creative to do the extra work. Because it used to be that you can get people to watch Monday Night Raw because it had enough of a hook to it that there was worth watching, and then they would watch the pay-per-view because that was the big thing. Nowadays, they're like, well, let's just take that off of the pay-per-view and think that that's good enough for the TV show. And I don't necessarily think that this is going to work with the ratings for this week, but at the very least, they're going to be able to tell themselves, our Christmas episode involved a title change, and aren't you happy? Big E won the title. It's got social media stuff passing around.
It involves 3 title matches because you have a Universal title cage match, and then you have Charlotte Flair and Asuka defending against
Bianca and Sasha and Bayley and Carmella. Which,
not a bad match.
The women's tag titles stay exactly where they are, so no surprises there.
I will say, not a bad match. Like, that when I read the spoilers, I was like, I kind of want to watch that one in particular.
It's cramming all the star power in that they can, which
Also,
I don't blame
Asuka,
them. Yeah.
Sasha, Bailey, they have fought all year long, and it's like at least they're consistent.
And Baymella was a thing.
Bamella was the thing. Bianca and Sasha teamed at Tribute to the Troops. They're cool.
And that sets up a little bit more of if they are familiar with each other, then eventually if Bianca and
WrestleMania
Sasha
because
Banks fight, then, you get that whole like, well, we've been teaming up a little bit here and there, and we got a little close. We're kind of friends now, and whatever. You don't have to make it the friend angle
so here's
necessarily.
why
But
you need to merge the brands. And you knew this is coming. You didn't know when, but this is coming. Merge the brands because if you have one champion for men and one champion for women, then you can do the thing where you go, our women's title match is always the co-main / semi-main, however you want to define it. Instead of being like, here's a hat on a hat on a hat on a hat. And by the time you get to Bianca and Sasha, it's just another match on the card.
yeah.
I don't like the way it looks like WrestleMania is shaping up, but we're not even in January yet. Maybe lightning will strike, and it's not Goldberg. It's I don't know. They don't have anybody.
To me, the bigger problem is the Brock thing. Like
I think the bigger
I'll
problem is
take
Goldberg
Roman and Goldberg in a stupid I did your spear and you did my spear and I whatever, that kind of thing. Like I'll take that if it means that we don't get Brock versus Drew or Brock versus anybody for that matter. The only Brock match I'm interested in is a regular match without the title on the line where Keith Lee beats him. That's the only thing I want to see Brock do.
I'm not interested in Goldberg because why do I care that this guy from WCW is like, you did my spear and now I'm gonna beat you. And here's the thing, and I've said this a few times now. If you take the guy who had to come back to beat Brock Lesnar 5 years ago, and then you take the guy 5 years later and he's got to beat the even younger and even more in his prime Roman Reigns. Come on, come on.
Seems that's where we're going though.
Am I wrong here?
And for all the people that did think that Big E was going to do that, like we said, we didn't have any faith that was going to happen. That's not a shot on Big E. Big E is, very talented guy and all that. It's just that didn't seem like that's the direction that they were going to go in.
Put Kofi over in the Rumble. Just put anybody over. Now that you've got this Goldberg thought in my head, put anybody over in the Royal Rumble, please.
Even if that happens, then Goldberg wins the Elimination Chamber. Or you know what? Even worse, it wouldn't happen. Goldberg wouldn't win the Elimination Chamber because they wouldn't have him wrestle in there. He would walk up to Roman Reigns on the episode of SmackDown. That's what happened with Roman Reigns. He just walked up to Goldberg, so that's what they would do. So maybe Goldberg doesn't win the Royal Rumble, and it's just the night after the Royal Rumble, he walks up to Roman and just stares and says, "You're next."
Roman just tweeted about the Slammies and said, when you're the highest paid on the roster, you don't need a participation award. I love heel Roman Reigns.
So good. Tribal Chief is the best. So that's the main spoilers for the episode, and that means that's the end of the hot tags. Yeah. So as I mentioned before, maybe at some point on like next Tuesday, maybe next Wednesday, we'll record the next hot tags. Maybe it'll just be me. We're gonna have like a week's worth of content potentially of some other things to happen. If they announce anything else, of course, too. If something happens on NXT tonight or SmackDown or whatever throughout the week, then that'll be more material to cover. Maybe at the middle of the night on Monday night, we record them. I don't know. It's a weird setup where this week is like the normal time that we would be recording the hot tags is Christmas and then the next one's New Year's. So normally what we were doing before is we were doing these before Friday nights. We were doing them on Wednesdays and then doing the main events on Fridays. And
well, we were doing them on Monday, I thought. When I started, we were doing them on Monday.
Originally we were doing stuff on Fridays, I think, back in the day. And then we were doing them like Monday and Wednesday and Friday or something, and then Mondays and Wednesdays, and it's all over the place. We keep having to adjust based off of other schedules, so that's why you're getting this today right now. Then why you're later on, either tomorrow or the next day, you're getting the AEW Awards, which we'll record in probably less than an hour after we're
Probably
recording
like
this.
right now, behind the scenes news. Callum might be ready to go like right now.
Really? Oh, well, that's cool. So, we'll probably roll along and do that, but you guys won't be hearing it until it gets posted, obviously. But if you're subscribed to the channel and you have that little notification bell clicked off and you follow us all over the place on Facebook and Twitter and the page on smarkoutmoment.com and everything else like that, you'll be aware of whenever anything goes up. And check out that feedback survey, check out the Patreon, check out the merch shops, check out Fanboys Anonymous, check me out at eWrestling News and Bleacher Report on Facebook and Twitter at Smark Moment, at Tony Mango, at Fanboys, at whatever, at this, at that, at
Add
that.
Fleece, add Fightful, add Fightful Select, subscribe to that Patreon, get your scoops way before Meltzer gives them to you. Just go get your scoops. Sean's a very good guy.
2 scoops, just like Raisin Bran. They still do 2 scoops? I haven't already Raisin Bran in a few years. Not a bad cereal, but yeah.
I'm not a fan of raisins, nor do I need to get more fiber in me. I poop quite a lot, so I don't need Raisin Bran.
All right, everybody. Well, that is not Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We will see you next time, everyone. But for now, this has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.